All right. Good afternoon, everyone. It's 4 o'clock on the 2nd of November. It's Ian VK1HF here. So I am making this video up for those who don't know how to drive the Flex radio, or more importantly, some of the basic stuff. I'm just going to go through it. So we're using my Flex radio. I'm based here in Canberra, and it's remote to me. So it's about 100 kilometers south of where I am here. So you can see here at the moment, I could zoom in, but I'll change the camera. That just says the radio. Smart link means you're connected via smart link. So if you're local to the radio, like if I had the radio here in my house and I was just on the same network as the radio, it would just appear without using smart link. So I'm logged into smart link. It's called Bunker. It's a Flex 8400, and that's my call sign. And if you notice my finger, I'm missing a piece of my finger. So if that distracts you, sorry about that. This line on the screen here is just a shadow from my window. Obviously you can see my hands and my back, some stuff in the background every now and then. And I'm going to use one of these to keep my screen clean. So I'm going to do this all real time so you can see how it goes. So this takes a while to power on. So I've powered it on. It is logged into my SmartLink account and it's seeing what radios I've got available. And I've got one radio available. So I'm going to pick that and I click on to connect. I'm not changing the timing, so it's all going to be real time, right? So you can see here what version of software we want to run. So we want to run version 3.10.15 at the moment. I'm going to click on run. Takes a little while to load. Cool, so this is our main screen. So I'm just going to do things and show you what I'm doing. So let's get some noise happening. There's a bit of noise. We're basically going to use this knob here primarily, this one, these buttons. I don't really use much at all. I use this one a little bit every now and then for the CW speed key, the power. I rarely use this one. I have never really used these. Essentially, well, let's just start. Where can I start here? So let me think about this for a moment, how I'm going to go about it. So we'll just walk through the screen, right? So on the left here, so the Flex radio has what they call spectral capture units, SCUs, and it has power adapters and slices. So if you like, that's a power adapter there, and that's a slice. And this radio is an 8400, so it's got one spectral capture unit. I'm just going to turn the volume down so you're not competing with that. It's got one spectral capture unit. So the best way to think of that is a spectral capture unit is just like a physical receiver. So imagine if you had let's say an ICOM 7610, and you had two actual, well, let's take an ICOM 7610 for example, because I used to have one of those. So it's got one receiver in it. And people are welcome to disagree with me. I'm just trying to think as I'm talking here. It's got one receiver in it with two VFOs, and one or two waterfall displays. You can actually split the screen. So if you like, I would think about that as having one spectral capture unit with essentially two slices and possibly two pan adapters. So for me, and if you're not sure about Flex terminology, I jumped onto, it's taken me a while to get my head around it. I jumped onto ChatGPT and I said, can you give me a comparison or a link or a connection between classic ham radio terminology and some Flex radio specific terminology like the SCUs, slices, pan adapters, AGCT, other Flex radio concepts. So first up, I'm just going to drive my radio. So I've got two antennas on this radio. I'm going to press this button here and change to antenna 1. This RF gain is, I think, this like a preamplifier. So basically, that at 0 is basically, all 0 is there, is essentially like having no preamp on. You can tap out of the screen anywhere. These buttons come up and go. I'll show you those later on. So I usually have, for one reason or the other, 8 or 16 dB of preamp on, of RF gain on. So I'm using, for receive, I'm using antenna 1. For transmit, I'm using antenna 1 as well. Hoping you can see that. Yep, you can. Upper sideband, 2.7K bandwidth, noise reduction's turned on. That's my frequency. AGC is set to medium. TX, and that's like VFOA if you like. Now, if you watch down here, you can see this is the knob. I'm going to click out of it so you can see what goes on. So, where's my thingamajig? There we go. So let's get a station up first. I'm going to change to 40 meters because I like 40 meters. So I'm going to click on here and go 40. I don't change bands using this mode, so we'll come back to that. And here's a few stations here. Let's turn it up a little bit. So you can see my waterfall display is building. Now I had my AGCT turned right down, so I'm going to turn that right up to 100. Now how AGCT works is a different discussion unto itself. For the moment, I'm just going to crank it up to 100. Right, so I've got volume on 16 and AGCT, the outside one is up to 100 there, right? So menu brings up the main menu. Get out of that way. Then you've got like a VFO menu. If I press this button here, I'm just going to press it. Brings that up. If I tap, I can press it again. I'll just tap out of it. It's the same as if you tap on here, you get the same menu. You also have another menu over here called the TX menu. If I click on that, it brings up that. And I don't think you can bring that up anywhere else on the display. Maybe I'll click on there. Yeah. So we'll come back to that. So let's get a station happening. So it's quite nice here. I'm going to just make my display a bit more gain, so things are a bit more hectic. These lightning strikes across this are typically classic QRM. So when there's a lot of lightning, you'll see all these horizontal lightning strikes or horizontal noise bars. It's essentially a piece of noise that affected the whole spectrum at a moment in time. You can see the waterfalls going down. I can go backwards in time here to different signals. I can click on live, I think, to bring me back to there. I can change the level here usually. Yep. So this is kind of like my noise level. If you like, this is my S meter up here, but that's like an S meter there. So if you're interested, I can never remember this, but there is actually a correlation between the number on your S meter versus the dB number here. So you know, obviously S3 is like, you know, minus 100 dB. So there is actually a mathematical correlation between those. You can look that up if you want. So moving around, I can just use the VFO knob like this, but equally I can just tap somewhere, double tap, like that. You can see I'm double tapping. Cool, so I'm going to double tap on that. Bit of volume. I can zoom in with 2 fingers like this. But I typically, when I'm zooming, I typically just use, you tap anywhere on here, and you get a plus or minus. S means slice, so zoom out to the whole slice, and B means band. So if you're on 40 meters, that will zoom to the band, so 7.2 down to 7.0. I'm often using this function here. So I'm going to zoom in here. Here's these guys here. Now I'm going to grab this. Like nice. Now I can use my knob here if you like and go down like this to a different station. Nothing there, something down here. Well, if I want to go down here quickly, tap down there, a bit of fine tuning, tap out, oh, something down there, bit of fine tuning with the knob. Cool, so that's just pretty simple operation, right? So I'll just turn the volume down. So I've got meters over here. I can take meters away. So I'm taking meters away. I can add them back. I can have an analog meter. So that's what that does there. Pretty cool. This here just tells me I've got a good signal strength connection from the Maestro to my network, I think, from memory. The power means I'm plugged into power. So this is actually going, at the moment in my house here, this is actually wireless to my house. I haven't got a wired connection to the Maestro. Everyone says you should go wired. In my experience, it doesn't make a whole lot of difference as long as your wireless is good. So that's that. So let's... Cool. So let's change some stuff here, like I'll click on, I'm going to bring up the VFO menu if you like, but I'm just going to click on here so I can click that like that. Why is that not working? There you go, longer press. Bring that up. T and F means tracking notch filter. Tracking notch filters are awesome. FDX full duplex. I've never really used that, to be honest. WMB is the wideband noise blanker. Think of that like a DSP or noise reduction, but it works across the whole slice. The whole slice, I think it is. NB is your classic noise blanker, like your spark plug noise, for example. Turned on, turned off, and the level. NR is classic DSP noise reduction. I'm in a lucky situation. I've got quite low noise where we are, so I don't usually have too many filters on. I've got A and F on, which I don't even need to turn on. Squelch and squelch level, AGC mediums. DAX is it's digital audio on an exchange. I'm not sure what the DAX is, but essentially DAX is for when you want to have, rather than having to have physical cables coming to your radio from your computer, DAX is like a virtual sound card where the software on your computer talks to the virtual sound card and the audio comes through to your Flex radio over a virtual port. So that's what DAX is all about. I don't use DAX at all. I never have. At some stage I probably will. These buttons here just are different levels of bandwidth. So I'll just click out of that. I'll get this guy's voice and I'll show you the different levels of bandwidth. So I'm going to zoom right in. So we can see that the bandwidth now is pretty much consistent with what he's transmitting. If I click on this here, frequency, sorry. Notice that now? You can hear the difference.
Roger, that is correct. Roger, over. Thanks for the contact, 73, enjoy the day.
So it doesn't really make much sense that my audio passband, if you like, is different to what he's transmitting. So I usually am on 2K7 or 2.7K. There you go. So that's that. Let's turn it down. So let's say you want to put a bit of noise blanking or whatever on. So I'll turn them all on like that. Give it a bit of this, bit of this, bit of this. I'll show you tracking notch filters later on. Cool, so you can see they're all turned on now. Noise blank, noise reduction, A and F. QSK, it says QSK there, that's for Morse code. AGC is on medium. I think this basically indicates essentially how wide my bandwidth. Let's change the bandwidth. Let's see if that changes that. No, not sure about that one. These are hot buttons to different bands, if you like. Transverters where you can change, like have the radio transmitting on, say, 10 meters, but have it transverting up to 10 gigahertz, for example. That's what that button's all about. Record and playback, I don't use that much at all. In fact, I don't even think I've used that. This will be for manual frequency entry. So one thing I want to share with you straight away is that so you've got these, let's talk about all the buttons. So this one here is audio frequency, so it's like your just volume level. The back one there, the ring if you like, is AGCT. So the best way to think of AGC, I think, is like RF gain. Like I said, there's a whole discussion on what that is. I initially took issues with some of the terminology Flex used, but the more I become a Flex user, the more I'm okay with it. Classic example is this button, the MOX button. So that MOX button is basically PTT, push to talk. So that means manual operate as opposed to Vox, voice operation. MOX is manual operation. So if that was an Icon radio, it would say PTT. So so you've got that, plus you've got your tune button. Tune button is like giving you power, just like if you've got an external tuner and you just want a small carrier to tune with. That's what that's about. ATU is to tune up, antenna tuner, and then you've got these buttons here. Short press and then long press function. So I have this F1 and F4 is all about Morse code for me. F2 and F3 are up and down bands, and F3 and F6 are lower sideband, upper sideband. So I'll just show you, right? So I want to zoom out. I don't like my screen's too zoomed in for my liking, so I'll just go like that. That's typically about how I like it. Very nice. So I'm on 40 meters here, you can see that. I'm going to press this button, F2. So I've got this programmed to go up a band. So every time I press it, it goes up a band. If I long press it, it goes down a band. Cool, that makes sense. So back to 40 meters. Now I want to tune it up, so I'm going to press the antenna tune button. You watch it'll go red, and you'll see this will change. Tuning up. Blah, blah, blah. So it's all tuned up. Now let's say if I want to, I'll just get off frequency a little bit. Where am I? I'll just go to there. If I want to transmit MOX, I'm currently transmitting now. I don't know what audio I've got coming through, to be honest, probably nothing. But because I haven't got a microphone plugged into it or anything at the moment, so that is just a lower sideband transmit. Sometimes I've got a CW key down the bottom down here. Sometimes if I want to with CW, I'll put the unit into CW mode and I'll press MOX to basically put in PTT, and then I'll key away, which will keep it in transmit mode. So even if I'm not keying, it stays in transmit mode. So at the moment, I'm really using the, okay, let's talk about this. So that's obviously my dial. My meters are all pretty obvious. This is my power setting here. Sorry, I always get confused. Power is the outside one. So let's go back up to 100 watts. You see that changing over here? Power setting. And this is microphone gain here. And these knobs and dials are for the A band, if you like. And these are for the B band, or so think of it as like VFO A and VFO B. So at the moment, I've only got literally one running. Now, what you can have sometimes is a situation where, and let's talk about this as well. So I never use A equals B, that's pretty obvious, or A to B. Step I use a little bit, so press the step. I often go between, I wouldn't mind if there's a step up and step down, but it just goes around in a circle. So I often go between 100, that's my step there, more fine grain, or I go up to 500. Faster, or often I go to 1,000, so it's nice and quick. It gets me right on frequency. I find that these knobs are quite, there's not a lot of drag on them, so it's easy to tap them and move around, so I'll often will press the lock button so that they do nothing. I'm not sure if this still works on lock. Yeah, it does, there you go. So that's that. Now, at the moment, you can see I'm selected on slice A, if you like, and transmit is selected. So you see here I've got receive and transmit, so if I press TX, I've got no transmittability at the moment. I'm just a receiver. So if I press MOX, for example, won't work, nothing happens. If I press TX and press MOX, it'll go into transmit. So I'm not really sure why you'd want to do that, but essentially you can only transmit, you can receive on two different slices, but you can only transmit on one. So I guess you could move the transmit from one to the other. I'll play with that in a minute. So that's that. All right, so what else do I need to show you? So then I've got, at the moment I'm in lower sideband, so if I long press this, you'll see over here, it'll change to upper sideband. So I have that key for lower sideband, upper sideband. That's frequency up and frequency down. This is a CW tester. So I'll go down the bottom in the band and I don't really know what I've got programmed up, but we'll go down to 7080. I'll tune up. See, it's not working. Tune's not working because I've got no transmit selected. And you can see up here, TX is not selected. So I'm going to press this button. You'll see TX will come up there. Now I press tune and I can tune up. And I'm going to change mode to CW. Let it tune, let it finish tune. So I don't have an actual button here for CW. So I'm going to just press on here and change to CW mode there. So now I'm in CW mode. And I will... actually, I might actually have a button for CW. Let me have a look. Yeah, I have. Sorry. So this is my upper sideband, lower sideband. I've got F4 programmed to go into, so see over here, LSB. Long press here. I'm in CW mode. Now, if I do a short press, a quick press, the F1 key, CQ call. Yeah, once with the memories on the flex, once you kick one off, it's very hard to stop it. So I just did like an override by turning it. Oh, look at that, it's picking it back up. I'll wait for it to finish. Cool, so that's a CQ for my call sign. So you program these F keys in the menu. So this one here, menu, function F1 to 6. So you can see I've got like F3, which is that one, set for LSB, F6, which is that one, set for USB. It's pretty obvious, right? And there's CWSIN, I can do that there. If you're operating remotely, this is handy. This will tell you a little bit about your network performance. So that's that. So I'm basically just operating there as a single VFO radio, just like what you'd all be used to with your ICOMs and whatnots, back in the lower sideband mode. So now what I'm going to do, and that's using one slice. So an 8400 has one spectral capture unit and 2 slices available to me. And the reason I'm telling you that is a lot of people have 8600s. The 8600 has 2 spectral capture units and 4 slices, 2 per spectral capture unit available to you. So I'm going to press this button here now. This opens up another receiver, right? So basically I've got 2 receivers there. Now you see on the screen there, like that. And at the moment, see I'm moving my transmit from one to the other? So just think of it like VFO-A and VFO-B. Here's my volume for that one. Volume for this one. There you go, like 2 different things. Now if you want to mute one, you can just do a long press on here. So as soon as you turn the volume knob, they come unmuted. Cool. So you see that's basically the same as the other one, except this is, if you like, VFO-B and that's VFO-A. Now, I don't know how to create a second pan adapter. Have I done this before? Let me think. Maybe there. There you go. So now I've got essentially two waterfalls. One for each mode. I can't even think how to do this. Let me think about it for a minute. 7090. I never do that, but I guess you can if you want to. Something I rarely do. Anyway, this isn't a beginner course, so I'm not going to go into it too much. So I'm going to turn off my second slice by just pressing the receive button there. Now notice, it's my primary audio. Notice that I don't have transmit selected now, so TX over here is not enabled. So if I want to transmit to this person, it wouldn't work, so I've got to press TX. It doesn't mean actively transmit, that's what the MOX button would do. It just means enable transmit. Then I've got the RIT and XIT, so turn this guy on here. And long press on here. There you go. I haven't found a way to quickly undo that, so I'll just go back to 0 and then turn it off. There you go, that's those. So turn that down. This is your bandwidth here. I'll zoom in a fair bit so we can see these guys. Looking at this, and I'm going to change this here. See that there? So it's essentially changing our bandwidth there. I never muck around with this. Okay. Now I'll show you also a tracking notch filter. Now let's see if I can find a good use case for one. So let's see if there's a signal where there's someone's on. Good and bad, our receive location is very good for noise, but sometimes we have a lot of noise. I'm going to just quickly see if I can find something with a bit of noise on it. I'm looking for a signal with noise right in the middle of the frequency of the actual audio passband, if you like. So just looking for that there. Zoom out a bit. Can't really see anything. I'm going to go up to say 30 meters. What can I see on 30 meters? Change the band. Pick that. So that's, oh no, that's not 30 meters. That's that other band which we don't have in Australia. There we go. It's all looking pretty good there. No interference. Back up to 40 meters. Sorry, 20 meters. About 80 meters. Let's try 80. Just keep going down. A bit of noise here. So this is noise at our site from solar power transmitters during the day. So during the daytime, 80 meters gets chopped out a bit. And not really much going on there. Let's say I just go back up to 40 meters so we get a real signal. Let's zoom in on this guy here. Now let's say that you had some sort of a QRM interference right, like literally smack bang in the middle there. So like a 1K tone right on top of this guy's audio. So tracking notch filters is a flex thing, which I love for interference. So I think a long press from memory. Is it that right? Create TNF. So that's the tracking notch filter there. And it's a bit hard to get your head around how to do these. I'm trying to work it out. basically what you do is, you see there, I've created here, I'll just zoom in, I've created this really thin filter, super thin, on that frequency there, right? So let's say that this guy, that's the audio passband for that frequency, 7155 on lower sideband. Get that back to normal. Like that. There we go, got it now. So you see here I'm changing the width of this notch filter, and I'm moving it as well, right? So if I put it there, takes out a significant part of this person's audio. Make it very deep. So it's worth playing around with tracking notch filters. I don't expect I've explained them to you that well. It's a bit hard on the Maestro console, to be frank with you, it's a bit hard to get a hold of them and drive them properly. But with practice you can do it okay. I'll delete it there. But they are very cool. So if you've got noise, like a noise spike on a frequency that you're on top of someone's signal you're trying to talk to, just use a tracking notch filter. They're fantastic, and you can make them temporary or permanent. Okay, so what have I shown you? So that's that. So I've got two antennas on this radio. I'm going to switch antennas. I can have the receive on one and transmit on the other. So I'm going to switch over to antenna 2 on both those, on receive and transmit. I'm going to tune up the second antenna. Press the AT button. So that's that. And I might just press the transmit menu over here. So this option here talks about which microphone you're going to use. So that's the rear microphone, that's the rear accessory microphone. So this is microphone headset. So that's basically the input on the back of the Flex radio here on the side. So I'm saying I want to use that. If you had the Flex radio sitting literally next to you here, and you had a microphone plugged into the back of it, you'd select rear microphone. Processor talks about, I'll just turn that down, sorry. Processor talks about processing, what's it called again? I can't remember what it's called. Processing on your transmit audio. So basically, is it on or not? Yes or no. And if it is, normal, DX, or DX plus. To muck around with this, I'd highly recommend you transmit from your location and you use a Kiwi SDR on your computer with your headphones listening to that, so you can hear your own voice. That's what I do. And you're hearing it transmitted on the air as well. This is essentially your microphone level. If you watch here when I go down and up, that's my microphone level, so you can see it's moving as per over here. That's that. Vox is pretty simple, voice operated transmit. Carrier, that's obviously doesn't make sense in sideband. Tune, that's the amount of tune power you have. So when you press the tune button, how much power goes up the stick. This is your low and high pass filter for what you're actually sending out of the radio. I never use that button. DAX, as I explained before, is digital audio. ATU memory, I don't muck with that too much. I just press ATU every time. The Flex radio has microphone profiles. Now that's a whole video unto itself. But here I've picked a profile, so you can see I've got all these different profiles. Transmit is a transmit profile. There are 3 types of profiles on a Flex radio. There's a global profile, a transmit profile, and a microphone profile. The guys online at Flex Radio actually do, and Mike WA3, whatever his call sign is, he's got a pretty good PowerPoint slide which shows you what settings get saved in different profiles. And this is APD, Adaptive Pre-Distortion. This talks about keeping your transmit signal clean, so I have that turned on. It's very normal to see that, say, calibrating. I've got a feeling that might be a bug, maybe in a later version of software to fix that, but it's normal like that. So that's your transmit menu. I'm going to press the button over here to get rid of that. This is your, if you like, VFO or main sort of menu. We've gone through that. Get rid of that. I'll just click out of it up here. Now I'm going to go through the classic menus up here, the big menu. So on the radio itself, anything for a tick here, button backlight. There, have a look. Yeah, on the radio itself, it's actually got a flex symbol, and you can turn that on off there, have it brighter or weaker. Multiflex is what you want. I can't see why you want that turned off. Multiflex is the ability for you to have multiple people or multiple systems connected to the same radio to different slices. So at the moment, if I open up another slice, like I'm just doing there, that's essentially using multiplex. But I can also have my computer connected to one slice, my iPad connected to one slice, the Maestro connected to one slice. So that's what multiplex does. If you don't have that turned on, you can't do that. Switch radio, if I press that now, it will disconnect from the bunker radio. Remote on enables you to turn the power on and off on the radio remotely. That's using a, there's an external connection on the back of the radio where you can turn it on and off. Now, for the radio that we have remotely, we've actually got a little web-based switch where we can turn it on and off. So rather than use the power button on the front, we've literally got a web-based switch which we can use to turn the radio on and off. That's our function keys. What else is there of interest? We've got GPS running there. That's all fairly normal. Function keys, network, that's your network performance. Audio, what do I change here? Volume on the different slices. I think that's affected when you change this. Yeah, it is, there you go. You can have like a left speaker and a right speaker, so slice A in one, slice B in the other. That's just squelch if you want to have it on. I don't use squelch on sideband. This is all how I have it normally. Headphones, I don't muck with this too much. Transmit, show TX in waterfall. I've got that turned off. If you have it turned on, I think remember if it's turned off, your waterfall basically stops when you're transmitting. If you have it turned on, you can see your own signal in the waterfall. That's kind of cool. You can set the maximum power mode. You can have a couple of different things for tune mode, like two-tone tuning versus a single tone. This is cool. So this is an inbuilt equalizer inside Flex. So I've got just over to the left here, I've got a Shure, I think it's an MV7 Plus desk microphone. I've also got the handheld, I'll just show you here, the handheld Flex radio microphone as well. So obviously they've got their own different frequency response characteristics. My voice sounds how my voice sounds if you were here listening to me, but obviously sounds different when a microphone picks it up based on how well the microphone works. So you can go in here, turn the transmit equalizer on, and then change different settings for different frequencies to give your voice different levels of emphasis at certain frequencies. So my way of thinking of that is primarily you want to use this to make, because obviously no microphone's perfect. You know, your voice sounds different through a microphone than it does in real life. So you can adjust these here to make your voice sound like it does in real life. And you can turn it on and off. Transmit band settings, you can just disable some bands, a whole bunch of settings there, fairly obvious. Phone CW. Some microphones need bias power, otherwise known as phantom power. So I think an electret microphone is a classic for that. So that's what that's all about. This is for microphones that are connected to the Maestro, like this unit, and this is for microphones that are connected to the back of the physical radio. So plus dB, if you've got a low microphone with not a lot of signal level coming out of it, you can put the plus 20 dB on there. Iambic keying, I'm assuming what that's all about. I probably should have that on A. Iambic keying, the mode A and mode B doesn't make any difference at all unless you're doing squeeze keying, which is where you hold the two contacts at the same time. If you're just doing left or right at one time, A or B doesn't make a difference. Not sure what that is. Break-in is your fast keying, where you literally will switch into transmit straight away. So that's all that. Transverters, if you want to use a transverter to get to different frequencies, like I said, if you want to do 70 centimeters with this radio, you can use a transverter for that. So that's where you put all this stuff in here. Profiles, like I said, this is where you have your global transmit microphone profile. That's a subject for another discussion for another day. It's fair to say that for me, as a new user to Flex Radio, I think I stuffed it up. I can't remember. But my microphone profile, I stuffed it up. So yeah, I'll do another video on that at some point in time, not too far away. If you find that you're transmitting, but you're not getting audio going out, it's most likely going to be your transmit profile, or which microphone you're selecting. Memory, just different memories you can have in there. I don't use those. Gunter uses those. VK. So this radio is shared by me and Gunter, VK2JAP, and he uses these. I don't use this section. I don't use that much. Multiflex, like I said, so if someone else was connected to the same radio, you would see a second person connected and what frequency they're on. Cool, so that's that. That's all the menus. So I think that's it for as an overview for the Flex radio using the Maestro console. So this is a Flex 8400 with the Maestro head unit. It's remote. This connects to the Flex radio. This goes Wi-Fi in my house, out over NBN via fibre in my house in Canberra, over the internet, down via Starlink, through a Raspberry Pi into the radio, which is about 100k south, and it all works quite well. So that was a primer. Hopefully that made sense. I don't know if I missed anything or not, but feel free to let me know if I did.